Hey friends! So in celebration of our October Dawn of a New World box, I wanted to bring you some sci-fi book recommendations for you. I have 5 books to share with you today, each of them quite different from the last, so let's get into it. So the first book I want to talk about is Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Cori. This is a book I have mentioned on this channel several times already because I completely binged the series earlier this year and I absolutely loved it. I believe I read up to the 9th book, or the 8th book, but these are chunky books, but they fly by and I absolutely love them. This is like an epic space opera set in a universe in which humanity has colonized Mars and the moon and the asteroid belt and beyond. And it follows our main character Jim Holden and his crew on board the Rosadante, which is their ship. I just love this story. It is very, very politically driven between people who have been raised living in the asteroid belt, between people who have lived on Mars, between Earthers, and it's also incredibly diverse. I just absolutely love it. In this first book, they are looking for a girl who has gone missing from this rich family, and Holden has to Jim Holden has to team up with Detective Miller, who is definitely kind of a shady character, in order to try to find her. I just loved it. Each book has its own story, but they all weave together very seamlessly. And if you're just looking for almost like an adult version of like the crew from like Six of Crows or something like that, this definitely has that like found family dynamic on board this ship, and I just love it. Next up, I have The Final Six by Alexandra Monir. This one kind of reminds me of Dare Mighty Things, but I liked this one just as much, and it has kind of a similar present, but definitely tells its own story. It is about a group of 20 teenagers from all over the world who are in basically a reality competition to become the final 6, and these 6 will be sent to live on one of the moons of Jupiter because humanity has essentially destroyed the Earth and we need to recolonize. So the main characters in this book are Leo and Naomi. Leo is an Italian boy and he's a swimmer, and then Naomi is an Iranian-American girl who's just super smart, and they end up forming a friendship in this competition. And Naomi is super kind of skeptical of this program and this competition because the last mission that happened failed and everybody on board died, and they don't really know exactly why that happened. It's fast-paced, it's fun, there's a competition, there's friendships, there's betrayal. It's a great one, a YA novel, pick it up. Next up, I actually have an adult short story collection, and that is Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. This became popular because it contains the story of Your Life, which actually got turned into the movie Arrival. I thoroughly enjoyed this short story collection. It is definitely sci-fi, but it also just like explores themes of humanity and what humanity will do when faced with these incredible situations. If you like short stories, I definitely recommend picking it up. It's one of the better anthologies I've ever read, and it's definitely stuck with me over the years. Next up is a super popular book here on BookTube, and that is The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. I think this is a really good sci-fi if you're not super into sci-fi and need kind of a lighter dose. I think this one is an easy one to pick up. In case you didn't know, this follows our main character Todd, and he grew up in this place called Prentice Town, and in Prentice Town there is noise, which means you can essentially hear everybody else's thoughts, even the animals. And then one day Todd stumbles across a pocket of silence, and the story goes on from there. It's such a good trilogy. There's a movie coming out of it soon that I'm very excited for, and I read this story years and years ago, and I can't stop recommending it if you haven't picked it up yet. Patrick Ness is a wonderful writer. Also, if you do read it, I recommend getting the editions that contain the bonus short stories at the end. So each one contains an additional story, because honestly, the short story in the final book, Monsters of Men, actually changes the ending of the book completely. So definitely recommend getting the ones with the short stories if you do pick up these books. And next up, I have a book that isn't actually sci-fi, it's just it's just science, but it is such a good book and it's so uplifting, and that is The Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth by Chris Hadfield. Now, if you didn't know, Chris Hadfield is a Canadian man who was the commander of the International Space Station, and he is just such an inspiring person. This book kind of tells his story of how he became an astronaut and how he got this incredible position on aboard the space station, and how he just like also maintained his humility. If you haven't seen the video, he performed the song Space Oddity while floating around the space station. It's great, Google it. But it's just a really wonderful, uplifting book. There's some kind of like self-helpy, inspirational stuff in here, but it's such a cool story, and I know it's not technically science fiction, but if you're looking for just to feel inspired, pick this one up. Alright, so those are 5 science fiction, except for the last one, books that I really recommend that you pick up. Like I said, this list is inspired by October Dawn of a New World box, which contains 2 very different, incredible sci-fi stories, and I cannot wait for you guys to see it. As of uploading this video, it is still available, so make sure and go and pick it up if you haven't already. Get those 2 books, guys. But yeah, if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe for more. Happy reading, and thanks for being awesome. Bye!